James, I got full faith in us. We can find a way to tie in every main trailer we're talking about today.
I don't think we can do it, Kevin.
We'll start with the easiest one and work our way up. It's like a video game, right? Like,
Okay.
the levels get harder as it goes. So we'll start with Palm Springs. Easy peasy, because we're in quarantine right now. It feels like every day we wake up and we kind of do the exact same things. And there's very little to differentiate between a Wednesday and a Sunday.
Yeah, we are literally all stuck in a time loop right now that may or may not culminate in a wedding with me getting married.
That's absolutely right. Palm Springs hits harder for you in that regard, eh? Next one is Broken Hearts Gallery. I got faith in you, James. What do you have?
Broken Hearts Galleries. Well, okay, so on the flip side of it, Palm Springs, it could end in a wedding. That's really great.
Sure.
But because we are all very tight in close quarters over and over again, possibly this quarantine could end in a lot of broken hearts. There you go.
There you go.
It's not a positive idea, but you know what? It's the reality. It's the reality of things, but not us, Kevin. Not us. Optimism on this side of things.
Next, we have Ghosts of War.
The Ghosts of War trailer. All right.
This will be slightly trickier, but that said, the characters in Ghosts of War are stuck in a house that they can't leave easy enough. And, you know, for some of us, we may be haunted by ghosts. You might be like, I really want quarantine to end because Casper over here keeps rattling my goddamn dishes. And so Ghosts of War will really apply to you.
Don't run up the stairs, run out the front door, but just grab your mask.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to escape from a ghost, please be sure to observe social distancing while doing so. Or stand your ground and see if a vacuum does the trick. Whatever works for you.
Was that a Casper, the Friendly Ghost reference?
A very deep cut. It's because Casper doesn't get sucked up. It's the other three bad ghosts that get sucked
Stinky,
up.
Fatso, and Stretch, for sure.
Good fucking God. Good for you. I didn't remember those three.
I mean, when Bill Pullman pulls out a vacuum cleaner and starts sucking up ghosts, that sticks in your memory, man.
I pay attention. Yeah. Okay, but we shouldn't celebrate too much, James, because we do have one more trailer to tie in. That's Deep Blue Sea 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely harder. So how about this? In theory, there are people who are self-quarantining on houseboats, and maybe they're dealing with sharks.
They're just floating around, getting a tan, but now they have something to worry about because Deep Blue Sea 3 is coming out.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, hey, listen, whatever your circumstances listening to the show, whether you feel like you're caught in a generic time loop, whether you are going through a breakup through quarantine, whether you're being haunted by Casper or the three other bad ghosts that James will name right now.
Fatso, Stretch, and Stinky.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Or if you're on a houseboat, regardless of where you are, smile, you son of a bitch. This is Trailer Hitch.
You can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer Hitch.
Might totally suck, but the whiskey sure is going down fine. Yeah, we're Trailer Hitch.
You know, just given the variance in the trailers we're talking about today, I do hope there is something in here for everyone. I think the only people who are leaving out right now are people who are stuck in a time loop that live on a houseboat that are being haunted by ghosts and sharks. I feel like
ghost sharks.
All of those ghost sharks. Yeah, exactly. I feel like those, it's like, I guess if you put them together, I can see myself, but it's too separate. So Hollywood, get cracking. You have the time to write. But while you're writing, you should listen to us first. Hi, this is Trailer Hitch. I'm Kevin.
Hi, this is Trailer Hitch also on my side of things, and I'm James, the other host. Hello. Hello.
This is Trailer Hitch, where we rate and review movie trailers. We rate them on a scale of need to see more, never need to see. If James and I both give a trailer a need to see rating, we celebrate. Then we go see the movie, report back to you guys in a segment called Trailer in the Rear View, in which we talk about the trailer in retrospect and see how it stacks up with the movie, and then talk about the movie as well. Now, granted, because of the coronavirus, that go see the movie is a much shorter walk. Instead of to the theater, it's to our couches. we do still operate under the presumption of, would we pay $20 to rent it on demand? Granted, presumably in a month or so, we will be able to go and see it in a theater. And at AMC, you don't have to wear a mask. Wait, nope, never mind. You do have to wear a mask. It's complicated. It's still getting ironed out. Don't worry about it.
Wait, just kidding. We're probably not opening.
Also, we might be bankrupt. Shrug emoji. It's complicated. But while things are complicated, you got us. We're talking about the content we got right here in front of us, and we'll let you know what we think. We have 4 main drag trailers, which is a pretty big heap of trailers. And here's the crazy thing, folks. There were honestly more than 4 trailers that came out that we wanted to talk about. But
Yeah.
the thing with main drag is we like to take, 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes longer to expand upon our thoughts and to give you those yucks, but also to talk about the specific way in which a trailer is cut and how it presents its story and how it presents its characters, whether or not it gives too much away, things like that. But sometimes trailers come out and we think, man, I would like to touch on that, but I think at most I have 2 things to say about it. Well, that's when this brand new segment comes into play. James, what we got in store for them?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new segment called Courtesy Honk. I really like the idea of this segment, and I named it. I like the name.
I do like the idea too, and it should be noted that James is the one that came up with it. So fuck humility. Welcome to Trailer Hitch.
Oh yeah, I'm here to pat myself on the back. Who else is going to? I don't have any other interactions. Okay, so Courtesy Honk is basically a segment where we're basically saying, yeah, we see you, you see us. I'm beeping my horn, honk honk. I'm letting you know, okay, yeah, we saw it. Okay, we don't have time though. We don't have time to talk about it for whatever reason. It might be multiple reasons, like Kevin said. We might not have much to say about it, or with the exception of one of these we'll be talking, or I'll just mention, maybe I would have had a lot to say about it, but I like our main drag better. And so this one got pushed to the wayside. So I really like the idea of something like this. And it's just like, this will be very quick. It's literally just to say, hey, we didn't miss it. I promise. Don't write us letters. We didn't miss it. Honk honk. I got it. But we're not gonna be reviewing it. We're not gonna be rating it. We are literally just acknowledging that we saw them.
Yeah, definitely. And bear in mind, sometimes when you're on the road and you give a courtesy honk, especially if it's an 18-wheeler, sometimes you do the pulley motion. Sometimes we do want the trailers to honk back, and we will let you know when we're looking for a honk back. Or other times we might just be passing by and looking and going, ugh, and then just speed up so that way we can pass it.
Exactly. And just in case you're new to this podcast, all of our segments are automobile punned. I don't know if you caught that, but that's a thing.
Yes. Okay, James, let's go off to the races with courtesy honk. What do you say?
Done. That's pretty good. I say let's do it. So the first honk we're talking about is actually a pretty big movie called Greenland, and it is a natural disaster film in the vein of Ronald Emmerich and all those kinds of 2012 San Andreas, whatever. It's about an asteroid or tiny asteroids hitting the Earth. That's basically it. And I went into this being like, great, another natural disaster movie. I'm so not into these. And then it ends, and I'm like, you know what? That was actually a pretty fun trailer, and I could see myself going to that. So there you go. It's starring Gerard Butler too. So Kevin, do you have a honk back for that?
I do have a honk back for this. Yeah, I had the exact same experience as you, man. I saw the title, I saw Gerard Butler, I saw the premise, and was like, all right, I'm buckling up. I don't know about this one. And I watched it, and I was actually really impressed with this. I really like how the first half of the trailer really puts you into the mind frame of just the average person, where they hear about the asteroids and go, it's probably not a big deal. And then eventually it becomes the biggest of deals. And it really is just a matter of timing, because I feel like I can see a lot of how I was reacting to COVID before it became the big pandemic that changed everything.
Exactly.
Within this trailer. And so, yeah, this trailer it's really just the perfect confluence of timing, explosions, and scared birds. And Yeah, I'm giving a honk back for this one. I'm really liking what I see here so far.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, moving on to the next person we need to honk at, and that would be The King's Man. So the prequel to the
Mhm.
Kingsman movie. We've talked about these trailers on the podcast before. This is one of those films that got delayed with everything, so they came out with a new trailer recently. Look, this normally would fit in a segment we call Tune Up if we wanted to talk about it, but when Kevin and I see a new trailer for something we talked about and it hasn't changed a whole lot, and sometimes we just don't talk about it then.
Trust us, the Kingsman fits that bill.
Yeah,
Go for
and
it,
so
James.
it's a perfect candidate for
Yeah.
Courtesy Honk. And the
Yeah.
only thing I need to say about it is they swapped out war pigs for war. What is it good for? And I say go back to Sabbath, baby. Go back to war. That was like a home run song choice for that, and that's all I have to say about it.
Fair enough.
Honk back, Kevin, or ignoring?
My thing with this right now is there was a little title card that came up that said this is the whole bloody history, and I went, oh, that's sort of clever because British, so it has two connotations. That's sort of neat. Otherwise, I don't remember a goddamn thing about this. All right, speeding up.
Speeding up. All right, we got Waiting for the Barbarians, which is a
Mm,
movie. It's a stacked cast. It's with Robert Pattinson, Johnny Depp, the guy
Mark
that
Rylance.
thank you, a guy that Steven
Yep,
Spielberg really likes to work with nowadays,
indeed.
who I hear is a great actor. Anyway, stacked cast,
Yeah,
looks acted the hell out of, and it stylistically looks pretty interesting too. Couldn't tell you what the hell this movie's about though. It circled the drain of being like, look at all these like good actors that we got. But I was just like, but what is this movie about exactly? Question mark. I don't know. That's all I got. Hong Kong.
I'm going to be ignoring this one. I'm going to be speeding up, but I will say why I'm speeding up. I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at you as Waiting for the Barbarians is like really bummed that I'm speeding past them. Reason being, I don't know, man. There's just something about white dudes in a desert where my brain just turns off and doesn't care. Bear in mind, that does include Lawrence of Arabia. So that scream you heard that's scaring all those birds, don't worry, it's not an ashtray. That's just every film professor upset that I don't really care for Lawrence of Arabia. So yeah, this didn't fucking change my mind one bit.
Sure.
I know it's kind of dismissive, but if I find out that this thing is less than 2 hours, maybe I'll give it another look. But who are we kidding? This genre at a minimum is 2.5 hours, and I just don't have it in me right now.
That was
So
Kevin.
speeding up.
That was actually a pretty decent honk back, if I'm being honest.
It was me laying on the horn aggressively
you
as we were passing.
you were white knuckling it. You're like, I'm not gonna respond. I'm not gonna respond. I'm not gonna respond. And then I can't hold it. I can't do it.
For what it's worth, I didn't respond to the trailer itself. I just replied to the idea of it, which is a very different thing.
Fair enough. Okay, so for our last our last courtesy honk segment, Kevin,
Mhm.
I have nothing to say. I'm gonna hand the wheel over to you. Do you have a courtesy honk?
Yep. I'll put this into fourth gear right here because this is Peninsula. For people who are interested in foreign movies and especially genre movies, Peninsula is the sequel to Train to Busan. Now, Peninsula is one of the movies that was given the courtesy stamp of the Cannes Film Festival this year. So they did officially cancel Cannes for 2020.
That's
But
right.
what the committee did was they stepped forward with a list of, I think, like 50 movies. And they said, here's the deal. These are all movies that would have been a part of the festival. So, for marketing purposes and just to get the word out on them, we're giving them the official Cannes stamp of approval. And Peninsula has that. And you might hear that and be like, I mean, I liked Parasite well enough, but most of the time, Cannes movies are boring as fuck. That's not what's happening here. It's a really rough and tumble action movie with zombies. And the only thing I had written here was, oh, so when Resident Evil does it, it's considered schlock, but when it's the sequel to Train to Busan, it gets into Cannes? Get out of here.
Can I have a honk back, maybe?
Yeah, I'm passing you the wheel.
I'm just saying, this is a Criterion Collection waiting to happen. I can't wait.
And here's the deal. I'm quasi interested in it. I just feels very stylistic, but certainly the CGI zombies aren't doing it for me right now. That's mostly what this trailer is.
That was Courtesy Honk, and I hope you liked it, you guys.
We hope that you enjoyed that little stretch down the highway, but we just got to the main drag right now. And our first stop on the main drag, I want you to buckle up. Things are going to get a little spooky here. This is Ghosts of War.
You hear that? We need to talk.
We stay here, we're fish in a barrel.
We're staying.
What's that?
I found it in the basement. Belonged to one of the Nazis who took over the house.
It says what happened to the family who lived here.
I'm just gonna say what we're all thinking.
This place is haunted.
Everything we experience, it's what the Nazis did to the family that lived here. Let's get out of this house.
War. What is it good for? Turns out ghosts. This is Ghosts of War. This is written and directed by Eric Breeze, starring Brenton Thwaites, Theo Rossi, Kyle Gallner, Skylar Austin, and Billy Zane. Our random shout out.
Billy Zane.
Fuck yes, he's in it.
Fucking love Billy Zane.
Our random shout out, because we here at Trailer Hitch, we like to give shout outs to random cast and crew members because the top billed people tend to hog all the credit. So today we are shouting out Kelly Crabb, who was the legal department for Ghosts of War. Hey, Kelly, thanks for making sure no ghosts sued you, bud.
That's pretty good. Also, I hope every time she lawyers someone, she says, "You got crabbed."
Only note there is Kelly is a man.
I hope they say, "You got crabbed."
There you go. Okay, so what's going on with Ghosts of War? Now, you might be hearing all this ghost stuff, and you're like, surely the ghosts are figurative. Here's what's going on here. This is World War II era. We have a bunch of Allied soldiers, and bear in mind, it's a Hollywood movie, so Allied means all American. Go into this house that the Nazis once occupied, and it's this big, lavish mansion, and these soldiers are saying to themselves, dope, look, there's a piano, we have snacks, this is a great time. And then suddenly, upstairs, you hear a noise. What could that possibly be? You're thinking to yourself, there's no fucking way the ghosts are literal, right? And then suddenly a bunch of Nazis attack from outside, and the boys in green have to defend that house. And you think, okay, it's just figurative. All right. Whew. Otherwise, this would have been silly. Anyway, they defend the house from the Nazis. They suffered losses through this, and they're saying to themselves, more Nazis are probably going to keep coming, but we've been ordered that we have to stay in this house. So this is just the haps right now. Then they go back inside, and they hear another noise. And at this point, I have now been conditioned as a viewer to think, more Nazis. Right on, right on. When suddenly, fuck no, it's ghosts. Just completely pulls the rug out from under you. In a sense, twice. Because it pulls out the rug from under you the first time, saying, no, it's still kind of grindhouse, but it is a war movie. And then while you're getting on your feet, whoop, right, it turns out you were underneath a second rug. It turns out there's a pentagram in the floorboards of the attic, and these Nazis cast a spell on the house, and the Jewish family whom the Nazis tortured and killed in the house are now haunting it, and they are making the inhabitants of the house experience the horrors that they went through at the hands of the Nazi soldiers. If you think there's going to be anything deep there, no. It's still mostly just a sniper seeing someone down a hallway raising his gun, and then the ghost isn't there, and he goes, guess it got bored, and then he turns around, fuck no it didn't, now it's right behind him.
Does that guy really only have a sniper rifle when he's just like exploring the house? You couldn't be like handling something more close range.
Right, yeah. Listen, there's a lot of questions to be had here. The choice of weaponry, I'll allow it, James. That is definitely on the table for criticisms. But alas, these good American soldiers, they got to fend off these ghosts. James, what do you think of those Allied soldiers fending off those ghosts?
There was a handful, because how many are there? Like 5? Something around that?
Something around there, yeah.
They were mostly likable-ish. Like, there was one that I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of annoying. I could see him being oft in this movie being pretty, like, entertaining.
Which one was that? The only character that really sticks out in memory, there's a dude with glasses. I just autofilled him as the Velma of the soldiers.
That's so good. I would call this guy probably just, I was going to say the Shaggy, but that doesn't really help you, does it?
Not really. Is that the mustachioed sniper?
I think so. I think it is the sniper, because he's
that sniper is such a Daphne, dude. Let's get this straight.
He seemed like he had like a little quip more than a few times, and I'm like, these quips are not entertaining to me. You just seem like you're forcing this. I don't like it, Daphne.
I rescinded. If it's quips that don't land, that's a Fred move. So yeah, we have our Fred, we have our Velma.
You know your Scooby-Doo pretty well there, I would say.
Well, you were remembering the ghosts of Casper. I was watching Scooby-Doo. We all had different
That's
things
true.
in childhood. Yeah.
That's true. So I wasn't really attached to these characters. I got that it's like Evil Dead or Cabin in the Woods, but during World War II,
Right.
like with actual like Nazi soldiers and stuff too. I'm like, okay. I didn't really feel the threat though from coming from both fronts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
if that, it was more like, oh, it was this threat that was handled and now it's this threat. If you have both of these threat, like that's your hook of this movie. It's like a horror movie set during World War II. That's what made, and I'm going to be saying this a lot during this review, but that's what made Overlord such an incredible movie, is that it took the supernatural element and it took the horrors of war element, and it double fronted your characters with those challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this one seemed to go in like a single file line of dealing with those challenges.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it does weirdly seem to posit that Nazis and the ghosts of victims of Nazis were kind of one and the same, which not really.
That's possibly problematic right there. Obviously, there's a lot of out of context happening right now for us.
There is, yeah. I did find it thematically muddled in that front, and I completely agree from a story standpoint. You're right. I mean, once they fend off those Nazis at the beginning of the trailer, that's the last you hear of the Nazis. And maybe I could respect this a little bit more if the trailer pump fakes you and they vanquish the ghosts somewhere around the 45-minute mark of this movie, and they go, all right, everything is fine now. And then outside you hear, and now the witch front comes in, right?
Or they pull off the mask from the ghost inside the house and it's Hitler. And he says, I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for your pesky allies.
And then they're like, all right, boys, our mission is finally over. Let's ship out. And they all happen to get into a tank that has Mystery Machine painted on the side of it and drive away. I would watch and out of that
hence the origin story of the grandparents of the mystery team from Scooby-Doo.
It's all an origin story. They saw these new 3D animated Scooby-Doo movie went over like a Led Zeppelin, and they went, we got to find a way to rebound this franchise. What does this franchise need? Nazis. Put them in.
We'll get to the grooviness later, but right now, Nazis.
You have to understand why it's important that they find the groovy in things. It's because they experience the horrors of war, and they had to seek out the groovy to balance it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This movie would never live up to what we just talked about.
Honestly,
everything has an origin.
All right, hang on. We should be talking about the trailer. Anyway, the scares are overall, they're pretty milquetoast. It's a lot of oh, I'm walking up to a bathtub with water in it, and then suddenly something shoves me in. Things like that. There was nothing about the scares themselves that had me really inspired to check this out further. And really, the only thing that had me hooked and kind of interested was the concept, which is, what if ghosts but soldiers? It seems fun and goofy, but in spite of itself, and it didn't really scare me. And that's really all I would ask for out of a trailer like this. And because of that, even though, again, this does yield promise, specifically in a Scooby-Doo origin film, I will say, based off this trailer, this is a never need to see.
It's a never need to see it for me also. And like I said, I promised I would bring it up again, and here I am bringing it up again. When I started watching this trailer, all I wanted was to just go and watch Overlord again.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Like, it kept reminding me of how good of a movie Overlord is.
Dude, the entire time, Wyatt Russell is basically just doing an impression of his dad from The Thing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
And he finds a way to make it work for himself, too. It really made me step back and be like, fucking good for you, Wyatt Russell. You should be in more stuff. Wouldn't it be nice if we could say this forever? Enough about war. Because it is. It's very traumatic. And it leads to a lot of broken hearts. But speaking of broken hearts, there's a gallery that we got to attend. James, come hither.
Do you see this tie? It's the only thing I have left from my last relationship.
Why don't you leave it here? A nail, perfectly placed. Yeah, look at that.
It's like art in a gallery. Nick?
Can I come in?
How did you get in here?
Your roommates. I want to show you something. And you are not wearing any pants.
Those bitches.
Move over, MoMA, because this is the Broken Hearts Gallery. This is Huh?
What is that? Sorry.
MoMA.
MoMA, move over MoMA. I mean, I like. Don't get me wrong, I love the alliteration. I
Thank
mean, you
you.
are on all cylinders here, but I have to ask, what?
Oh, MoMA, it's an art gallery in New York. So
Oh, okay. All right.
it's the LACMA of New York.
Ooh, I know that reference because I live in Los
Yeah,
Angeles.
yes. And if you're not in New York or LA, if there's a museum that is an acronym in your town, it's the whatever that is of whatever your town is. Anyway,
Okay, cool.
this is the Broken Hearts Gallery. This is written and directed
Yeah.
by Natalie Krinsky. This is starring Geraldine Viswanathan. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, bud. Reach out to me if I'm not. Selena Gomez, Dacre Montgomery, Suki Waterhouse. Our random shout out is going.
A lot of awesome names in that. Jeez.
Yeah, Suki Waterhouse is really good. Our random shout out is going to go to Lori Fishberg, who was the production manager. Hey, Lori, it's a pretty hard and sometimes thankless job, bud, but right now we're giving you that thanks. Good job.
Heyo, 2 thumbs up.
All right, so this is the Broken Hearts Gallery. James, give us the spiel. What's happening in this here trailer?
Well, someone has a broken heart, Kevin. They are
Need to see.
they are sad,
Mhm.
and they're handling it like most adults do during the phase of just getting broken up with or breaking up with someone, and a lot of drinking, a lot of wallowing in self-pity,
Yes.
among other things. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Our main character, our main actress.
I just want to time you out here for a second. When you wink wink and nudge nudged, were you talking about masturbating?
I was talking about masturbating,
God
Kevin, and it's
damn.
nothing to be ashamed of.
Absolutely not.
I've been told. Her friends are there for her. They're there to pick her up when she's down and try and get her back out there. Not necessarily in the dating world right away, but just to be out there and be active and be alive, you know?
Mhm.
That was all really great setup. And then we finally meet her Uber/Lyft driver, who doesn't end up being her Uber/Lyft driver.
That's correct. Has that ever happened
which
to you,
I
by the
thought-
way? Have you ever either gotten into or had someone get into your car and it was a mistaken Uber thing?
I literally never had that happen to me in my life.
It is awkward
And
as fuck.
I can imagine it's awkward, but in real life, that would be awkward, scary, weird, all the things. But in a romantic comedy, that's the best, most creative meet cute I've heard in a long time.
Sure.
I thought that meet cute was really, really charming and adorable.
What I
and
liked about it was the second that meet cute started to happen, because I was in that exact scenario where I am sitting on the side of the road and suddenly there was a woman in my back seat and she was just kind of like, off to this place, and I was like, who are you? And then we were like, ah! And then she left. And so
that's so horrifying.
when I saw this was going to be the meet cute for this romantic comedy, I immediately started to detach and I was like, dude, it's so much more awkward than this, but was really relieved when they do play it as an awkward but still sort of funny interaction.
The second meet cute comes later, but that first one, I think the way they drive it home and make it really charming and awesome is by actually having him drive her to her house. Like, that was hilarious. And then she realizes, wait, you're not the Uber driver? And he's like, no, I said that already. It's like, that was pretty great. That guy will always be known as the Red Ranger to me because he played the Red Power Ranger in the Power Rangers live action movie from 4 years ago, whatever it was.
All the 90s childhood deep cuts. I will say though, this is something that would only work in a romantic comedy, because if he did drive her home,
Absolutely.
it would be like, that's fucking scary.
Absolutely. From her perspective, that's great. He actually took you home. Get out of the car.
However,
Now,
James,
just in case there's a secondary location.
James,
Which you're not getting me to know secondary location.
right. Now, James, it's been a hot minute since we've done this, because I could have sworn watching this trailer that she gets out of the car immediately, that he doesn't take her home. And if he did drive her to the house, I entirely missed it. And just because, again, this does really change the story. It does change the story if she immediately fucks off out of the car or if he does drive her home. So that being said, is it okay if we do a duck season, wabbit season right now?
Okay. You know what? We're doing a duck season at wabbit season because it's been a while, and hell yeah, I want to, because I want to know if I misunderstood that scene. But I do want to say from memory, the reason I thought it was 2 locations is because I remember them doing a second establishing shot after she gets in the car the first time. So in my head, I read that as they went to her apartment.
Sure.
So with that info, and I don't know 100%, that's how I read it. And it's awesome that you read it the other way. Let's do a duck season, wabbit season.
Yes. Now, for those uninitiated, duck season, wabbit season is when James and I disagree with a specific scene or detail about the trailer. And so we go and we check and we see who wins duck season, wabbit season. Sometimes there is a fun gentleman bet involved with this, but it's always in good nature. So I'll say, James, if I win this, you have to actually watch Parasite.
Deal. I accept.
Okay.
I accept those terms. And if I win this,
Okay.
You have to watch this movie no matter what you review it.
This specific movie?
This specific movie.
You got yourself a goddamn deal, my man. Okay. Cool.
All right, cool.
We are pulling up the trailer right now. All right, James, we're back from deliberating, and looks like I'm seeing.
I'm on the edge of my seat here, Kevin, because we are not in the same room. So you were watching it, I was not. What's the verdict here?
It looks like I'm watching the Broken Hearts Gallery, because you're absolutely right.
What?
Yeah, she gets picked up. It looks like in an alley, and you're right. There is an establishing shot. She gets a call from her Uber driver saying, "Where are you?" And she's like, "What do you mean? I guess I'll cancel." And then, yes, you are completely right. That is what's happening here. And now that we have that established, I know that's a running, like a very old, either stand-up or just general joke of, this is some shit that would only be considered okay in a romantic comedy. Outside of that context, that is fucking horrifying. That is that context. Because again, I made it very clear to the woman who got in my backseat, this is not your lift. You should probably go. And we mutually agreed that was the right thing. Now, granted, maybe I blew it with her. Maybe she and I would have started a gallery together. So maybe don't take my advice.
That's really interesting. So I'm glad that this came up, because so the context has changed for you a little bit for their meet cute.
Yeah, it sure has.
And
yeah. I'm erring on the side of, I'm willing to just accept that this is a romantic comedy. That's the genre.
Which I love, by the way.
Yeah, totally. And to any of, regardless of male, female, or non-binary listeners, yo, don't do that. That's so fucking weird. Sorry for the diversion. Okay, so yes, this meet cute happens, and it does not end with her basically being like, wow, now we've fallen in love. It does take a little bit while. So can you give us a little bit more to that ramp up?
Absolutely. So they have a second meet cute, and I can't remember the terms of it, of why she's running into him again.
They meet in front of, it looks like, a convenience store. Now, bear in mind, as we've established with this previous bit, maybe I'm not the dude to trust on this, but it just looks like they run into each other outside a store, because she does make a comment like, whoa, so are you my stalker now? And he's like, well, you're the one who got into my car, and whackity schmackity.
Ha ha ha. Yeah. Got it. Okay, so then they're like, oh, maybe there's some chemistry here. Maybe, I don't know. But they go to what appears to be a murder dungeon. And she calls attention to it looking like a murder dungeon.
Right.
Just kidding.
Don't worry. Maybe we are following through on the creepiness of that original bit after all, question mark?
Yeah. It seemed like the writers they knew exactly what people would be thinking during all of this. It's like, if any of this happened in reality, run in the other direction.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how late in the game you think it is, just go the other way. And maybe they have a lot of fun with that, because they really double down when he takes her to like this just complete warehouse with just like nails and like walls torn down. It's like, what the hell?
Totally.
But he explains it's completely innocent. He's like rebuilding it into some sort of gallery. Ha ha! We got our introduction into the namesake of this movie, and we eventually go along, and she puts something on the wall, and it takes off virally like wildfire, and people are like, this is the Broken Hearts Gallery. We put up mementos from failed relationships, and we put them on the wall for people to see. And it's art, because, everything's art. Now, there are some classic romantic comedy tropes in here that it doesn't escape. So, for example, she seems to run into her ex who she was wallowing over at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's, that's kind of like a trope that we see a lot in romantic comedies. And she gets confused, like, oh, maybe like there's still something here, and then the new guy sees it and gets all like awkward and bumbling about it, and oh, I misunderstood, or I thought there was something between us, but maybe not with this guy in the way. And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of forget how it caps off. I don't remember it having the most memorable button.
The button is a joke. It's one of her friends says, you should put your penis into his vagina. And she goes, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll put my penis into his vagina. As James said earlier, that he's a big fan of romantic comedies. I don't necessarily mind them. I just never really seem to seek them out all that much. As someone who doesn't really seek out romantic comedies, there was definitely stuff in here I enjoyed. I did kind of like how it was basically just a riff on the Museum of Broken Relationships, which is a real museum. I'm not sure if there's one in New York, but there is definitely one on Hollywood Boulevard in LA. And I kind of liked how they were positing it of, yeah, the inception behind this just being a very genuine thing, and it created a connection between other people. And that is the intent behind that museum, is through seeing that loneliness, you tend to connect. Now, did I necessarily need the movie to fucking tell me that point blank? Not necessarily, but again, that is sort of the genre, too. Romantic comedies are kind of known for being like, this is our message! And that's okay. I did find it enjoyable, but for the comedy aspect, I did kind of wish the Red Power Ranger was played by a comedian, too.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, or a comedic actor, at least.
Yes, because I think this guy is fine, and he definitely has the presence of the guy that you should be picking in a romantic comedy. But ultimately, I feel like they could have mined a little bit more of that comedy if he was also a comedian too. When Harry Met Sally, really its strength derives from the fact that it's those two actors who are both insanely funny now kind of colliding and coming together. And those are the romantic comedies I like, where both the woman and the man are kind of equal in terms of where the comedy derives from. I think I would have appreciated that with this movie in particular. But overall, like, I did find this charming. I definitely finished it and went, it's on my radar. And now that I fucked up a gentleman's wager, I'm going to be seeing it regardless. But
yeah, it looks like you're seeing it regardless, but that's outside of our review system.
Indeed. But yeah, in terms of this trailer itself, I did enjoy it. How about you?
Awesome. No, I loved it. Yeah, and I think the casting critique is a decent point. He's not known as a comedic actor, and I think that could have elevated this a bit more. And I didn't really think about it until you mentioned it. But I do love her though, and I loved Blockers. I think she was like a main reason that I thought Blockers was such a funny movie. I'm really excited to see her in more comedies.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
so I think
great.
Okay, now I'll go against your critique a little bit here. When Harry Met Sally is very much a joint star movie. Like, that movie is very equally starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan.
Definitely, yeah.
At least based on the trailer, this movie is about Geraldine. He's there, but there's a lot of romantic comedies where it's like it is just about the one person and the romantic interest is secondary. And that's okay. Those can be good. Like, there are ones that are good. I think Miss Congeniality is a good one. That's a romantic comedy, but Benjamin Bratt is not top billing. Okay. He is like B cast member. That is Sandra Bullock's movie.
Sure. I haven't seen that one.
Okay. So maybe this is more like that. And if it is, sure, that's fine. But like you said, wouldn't have hurt though to get a comedic actor to be the love interest.
And bear in mind, I'm not trying to dunk on a Red Ranger here. I think he does fine.
You best not, sir. You best not. I'll be calling Rita Repulsa down on your butt.
I mean, don't even bother. You can just call Voltron. And then I don't know which limb he was. I'm going to just say the left leg will just whoop the shit out of me.
Voltron is a completely different show.
God
what
damn
are you doing?
I always mix that up.
You're talking about Megazords.
Thank you. The left leg of the Megazord. I'm so happy we're taking the time for this. Geraldine Viswanathan is doing such a good job here, and she definitely has that charm. She is finding a way to make the I'm miserable portion in the beginning still fun, which is an incredibly hard thing to do because it's very easy to just play those characters as pathetic, but she is still able to find charm within that and to find a way to make it relatable, which I do think is really difficult. Yeah, overall, I am finding this enjoyable. It's not necessarily my bag. It's going to be forced to be my bag, and that's okay. Based on this trailer, I do think it gives me a little bit too much at the end with, and now the other guy is back, and it's just not fleshed out enough to live beyond being a romantic comedy trope at the moment. So because of that, it's at a need to see more for me. But overall, I think, especially if you're a fan of the genre, I think you'll really dig this. Hey, someone who's a fan of the genre, what did you think?
I really dig this. So yeah, this is a need to see it for me. In spite of, like, I'm acknowledging, yeah, that was a romantic comedy trope that was just like, hey, we're throwing this in the trailer just because we feel like we have to. The old love interest shows up again. Drama, you know. In spite of that, I'm not saying I liked that. I'm saying in spite of that, it's still a need to see for me. So yeah, I loved it. I this is my bag, if you will.
Hope y'all see this. Hope y'all can connect, all you brokenhearted people out there, especially because, you know, really the best way to handle heartbreak is to just kind of get out, but you're not really able to do that. But if you're looking to get out through film, may I suggest Palm Springs?
Good day so far? Today, tomorrow, it's all the same.
You! What is going on? Hey, get out of the water!
Guess you followed me. It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
That I might have heard about.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, let's do the time warp again. This is Palm Springs, directed by Max Barbakow. This is co-written with Andy Ciara. Actually, he's the main writer. Max Barbakow just has a story by credit. Just wanted to make sure that everyone knew where the Just Desserts were. Speaking of Just Desserts, here's the cast.
You wanted to put him in his place, basically.
Hey, he directed it. He's getting enough credit. All right, Andy Samberg is in this. Kristen Milotti is in this. J.K. Simmons, Peter Gallagher, June Squibb. Our random shout out is going to go to Laura Jean Bransky, who was the script supervisor. Hey, Laura Jean, I understand that script supervisors are meant to keep continuity on set. I bet you were stressed as fuck throughout this thing, so genuinely, dude, good job. All right, so this is Palm Springs. What's going on here? We have a woman waking up in a motel room. She goes out. She's just visiting in Palm Springs. She's there for a wedding. And she sees this guy get up and make a really impassioned speech during the wedding. It catches her eye. This guy seems really genuine and really sweet. And you see him dancing out on the floor, and he's really goofy too, and that really charms her. And they go for a walk on the beach, and they start to make out, and she's really starting to feel something when all of a sudden a fucking arrow pierces his shoulder. All of a sudden, this dude's chasing after him. There's screaming involved. Andy Samberg crawls off into this cave with this light shining in it. She runs off after him. Where are you going? And he's screaming, don't come in here too. And then all of a sudden, the light sucks her in, and she wakes up again in the same motel room. What the fuck? It's the same day. She immediately approaches Andy Samberg's character, who happens to be floating in a pool. And she says, hey, what's happening here? What's the deal with this? And he goes, oh, it's just one of those time loop things you might have heard about. That's what introduces us to this concept of, yeah, man, regardless of what you do, she leaves the motel. She drives all the way to her home in Austin, Texas, wakes up right back in the motel room. Andy Samberg goes, oh yeah, at one point I smoked crystal meth, made it all the way to South America. It was just a giant waste of time. They're caught in this loop, and she says, well, what do we do here? And he goes, just live your life. And he cracks open a beer. Basically, we see the two of them indulging in hedonism. And it's just in whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, just go ahead and do it because it doesn't fucking matter. Tomorrow will be the exact same thing and just wipes everything.
And I would say probably every time loop movie or TV show explores that concept at least a little bit.
Indeed, but what differentiates this is Palm Springs seems exclusively centered on the hedonism. Ultimately, it seems like the movie is trying to draw conclusions, which we see those characters in other time loop movies kind of come to pretty quickly. Usually by the end of, like by the 40-minute mark, those movies, the characters are always like, yeah, all right, I'm bored. I want to just do something else. And they
It's usually a montage. It's just a quick montage of hedonism and then back to like, oh, he needs to learn a lesson.
Yeah, exactly. And this one seems to be specifically focused on kind of recognizing the emptiness of it. But I think what's imperative about this is Andy Samberg saying, well, there's nothing we can do, though. And there are points where she tries to kill herself. She tries to kill them both. Each time, Andy Samberg just shrugs and says, yeah, see you when you wake up. And it just restarts the loop again. It's basically a question of, at what point is it giving up, and at what point are you just accepting your fate? That seems to be the primary thematic clash between these two characters. And they do get to know each other through this process. They do talk about their experiences both in and out of the loop. And then all of a sudden, J.K. Simmons approaches, and it turns out, what the fuck, he's also in the time loop somehow.
Sorry, is that said blatantly or is that implied?
Just implied.
Okay, I thought so. And then you said it so confidently, and I was like, oh, does he actually say it? And I missed it because I thought I just like picked up on that, and I'm really smart. But I'm like, oh, maybe he literally just says it to Andy Samberg. Oh, you too, huh?
He has that line where he says, the lucky thing with you is you actually have someone to experience this with. Now, granted,
That's where I picked it up too, yeah.
For what it's worth, that did sound like it came from a place of experience, and because J.K. Simmons is a great fucking actor, I picked up on that. Now, that said, it could just be taken out of context, where Andy Samberg just tells him, and J.K. Simmons goes, all right, I'll believe you. So we'll see when it comes to the movie itself. But as far as the trailer's concerned, I am reading it that way.
He's stuck in the time loop.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing about that reading is, if that's the case, if he is stuck in the time loop with him, I kind of wish I didn't know there was a third person yet. I actually
100%.
I really liked how they were exploring basically the clash between the two of Andy Samberg saying fuck it, giving up, and just indulging in drugs and sex because it doesn't matter, you can just do whatever you want. And her kind of trying to snap him out of the reverie because she thinks that if you get him out, then I get out. I found that really interesting and really fun. And then, oh shit, there's a third person. That's really interesting. And once I knew that, I thought, I kind of wish I didn't. And especially given the age of J.K. Simmons, there's a lot I can read into about that I feel like would have been really interesting to see play out in the movie. But that's honestly my only note for this. Otherwise, I found it funny. I found the concept really fun. I feel like they're not necessarily reinventing the wheel when it comes to time loop comedies, but they are taking what is usually just kind of given a passing by with a montage, and they're expanding it and making that the full film, which I think is a really interesting idea.
Yeah, I'd say they're exploring the loop in different ways.
Yeah, I think both of the leads seem really funny and interesting within this too, and yeah, I'm definitely sold on this. But how about you, James?
We're so in sync and on the same page with this one because I loved every second of this trailer, with the exception of the implication that J.K. Simmons is also in the time loop. Like, I have to wonder, did the editors or producers of the editor think they were being like really subtle? And it's like, we just like the line for the trailer of, oh, you're not in this alone, you have someone with you. It's like, it's a really touching line to put in the trailer. And I'd agree with that. But did you not realize that having it come from J.K. Simmons all but confirms this twist, that there's another person stuck in the time loop? And I'm curious. I would love to ask the people who made it of like, was your intention to let people know in the trailer there's another person, or did you think you were being like way subtle and no one would pick up on it? Because we definitely did. Like you said, man, outside of this, I thought this was so fun. The button is so funny. He digs his hand into the wedding cake, pulls out a bomb, puts it on a crossbow, and says, "Don't worry, I used to be a bomb guy," and just shoots the crossbow into the air. It's incredibly funny. Like, certain parts of this trailer play like SNL sketches. And I think that that's a lot. It could be the writing a lot of the times, but it also could play into just Andy Samberg's performance and just how he performs comedy in general. But man, yeah, long story short, I thought this was so much fun. It was so, and like you said, it's not super, super original, but it felt fresh anyway, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I don't feel like I know how this will end. You know, most time loop things are like, oh, it ends with them breaking the loop. And I'm like, oh, it might be an interesting, like, I could see a movie like this being like, because they have each other, they end up finding a way to be content in this world together. Like, that's the growth they have to find.
Well,
is how to be content in the loop. And then they do, and then that's just their life in the loop.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too. I think especially that's why they included the "at least you have someone here with you." That makes it better line. I think that's why that's included, was it's the idea of like, when you're going through this awful thing, you can decide to completely indulge in your worst impulses, and in this context that would be giving up, or instead you can find that camaraderie with someone else, and you realize it's better to not do that because you can have a genuine connection with someone. And
it's a great metaphor just for real life too, you know, like when you look at the way we live everyday life, you know, morning to morning, it can feel like a time loop. And what gets you through it, man? Having someone with you. The idea of like, oh yeah, it's like you're like, you come into this world alone, you go out alone. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have company, or company doesn't help the ride, you know?
Yeah, but in between, there should be someone there before you go out and die alone. And by the way, I'll also just throw out there, what about twins? Anyway, that's enough about me.
What about Twins, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny DeVito movie from the 80s?
Yeah. Or what if two people get smooshed by something? Like, then at that point, you're going out with someone else. But anyway, yes, I will go ahead and give this trailer a need to see.
Need to see, buddy. Double need to see. Let's do it.
Give me that Foley.
Clink. I love it. I love it. Yep. Clink, clink.
Yeah, we'll go and see Palm Springs whenever it comes out. I think it's dropping on Hulu sometime in July. But in the meantime, you know what Palm Springs is known for? It's beaches. You know what can be on beaches sometimes?
People.
And sharks.
Sharks return here each year. Their home, like ours, is under attack from climate change.
Emma, what's wrong?
A half dozen people went missing about 100 miles up the Orange River. Turns out it was bull sharks.
So what do we do?
All right, so James and I really can't get over how much better of a title Deep Blue 3 is. So if we call it that on accident, that's what's going on. But the official title for this is Deep Blue Sea 3. This is directed by John Pogue. It is written by Dirk Blackman, which I just want to time out here. Dirk, I genuinely am happy that you got to write a movie. I'm happy that you get to be a writer. I hope that you're enjoying it. But I gotta ask genuinely, with the name Dirk Blackman, why are you not a Private Eye? That is the best fucking Private Eye name ever. Anyway, this is starring Nathaniel Buzolic and Tanya Raymond. Our random shout out is going to go to Jason Martin, who was the Marine coordinator. Hey, Jason, it must have been hard to coordinate an entire ocean. So good job, man.
Oh, I was gonna say, was there a lot of Marine Corps in this movie?
I've gotten so many good water jokes out of that, and now we just have to dig ourselves out of a hole.
You have to dig out, buddy. I just gave you gold.
You just gave me art. All right, well, as long as you're giving me art, can you tell me what's going on with Deep Blue Sea 3?
Yeah. Look, there's people, they're studying sharks, and there's something up with the sharks, you guys. I don't know how otherwise plainly to say it, but they've been tampering with the sharks. They're no longer sharks, and we need to be scared now.
Okay, I have to ask. So here's the thing, man. Because my roommate is Micah Pollard, who is the co-host of Shark Bites, which is a podcast where he and a co-host are making it a point to watch literally every shark movie that's ever been made.
That's right.
And out of curiosity, how many bad shark movies have you seen?
I'm gonna be honest. I have not seen a lot of schlocky shark movies.
So here's the deal with those bad shark movies. Just because my roommate has that podcast, he'll occasionally lean into my room and be like, "Hey, Kev, you want to watch Atomic Shark right now?" I go, "What's that about?" He goes, "Self-explanatory." And then a half hour later, we have beer and pizza, and we're watching Atomic Shark. My roommate and his co-hosts are definitely the experts. You should go listen to them. But I've seen, I think, like 7 or 8 of these now, and I kind of feel like a Franzia sommelier. If you were like, "Hey, I'm going to watch Saltwater," I would lean in like a sommelier and say, "Excellent choice." Because that's a great bad shark movie. Now, I have seen both Deep Blue Seas. Now, Deep Blue Sea 1, it's Samuel L. Jackson, LL Cool J, and it's just a grand old time with sharks. And Deep Blue Sea 2 has one good scene in it, which I'm going to tell you what happens right now, because there are human bad guys in Deep Blue Sea 2, and these human bad guys are basically trying to genetically modify sharks and that sort of bullshit. And so, main bad guy's having a conversation with his lackey, and someone's eavesdropping on them. So, you know that pretty stereotypical 2 characters are talking, and then you pan the camera over, and then you see someone was listening the whole time. So the 2 bad guys are talking, and then the camera pans, and I'm not shitting you, a shark is listening to them. You just see this big derpy shark face floating out in the water outside, as if it's like, interesting.
Does it have a stethoscope on, leaning?
it just has a little glass that it has up to the porthole. And it's by far the best part of the movie. Now that I've said that, you do not have to see Deep Blue Sea 2. It's a rough go. In comes Deep Blue Sea 3. And I should note, the reason why I bring all this up is Micah Pollard.
Deep Blue 3, Kevin. Deep Blue 3.
Thank you. The reason why I bring up this in particular is Micah specifically requested that we review the trailer.
That's right.
He's unfortunately out of town right now. Otherwise, I would have pulled him in.
He's been on the show before, and he's a knockout. So yeah,
he's leaving us to our own devices, and that makes sense. What's going on in this trailer? Basically, what we have is a group of well-meaning folks with GoPros, and they're saying, climate change is really bad, and climate change is affecting everything. We're going to go check on the sharks to see if they're holding up okay. And they go diving. They're looking around. They see other fish. All right, those are fine, but that's not our goal. Let's see what's going on with the sharks. And they swim further down and go, what? And then we see a shark with a giant fucking bite mark out of it. These people go, something seems fishy here. And then after doing some digging, this is a direct quote from the trailer, over the course of the past year, 100 people have gone missing, and now we know the answer. Bull sharks. And it turns out that climate change has somehow made the sharks more aggressive. It's increased their bloodlust.
Passive aggressive. Now they're making memes.
If you've ever seen a climate change meme, thank a shark. And you should, because otherwise it'll eat you, per Deep Blue 3. Then what we have is this group of well-meaning folks, they're just getting attacked by sharks. And sometimes that's innocuous as someone is swimming and then they get a little chompy. And sometimes that is a person on a pier and a shark jumps like an Olympic athlete and more or less bear tackles them. We do have a requisite schlock B-movie character saying, well, that was a close one. And then they're promptly eaten by a shark. That's the haps. That's exactly what you're getting here.
Yes.
In terms of the continuity with the Deep Blue Sea franchise, which, god damn it, isn't it beautiful? That's a sentence you can say and have it be true. I'm not necessarily spying anything. I'm sorry to spoil this for you, James, but LL Cool J does survive in the first Deep Blue Sea movie.
Oh, wow.
He is
what about the second movie? Because he's definitely in it, right?
I presume he's busy, and for the third one, I hope he is in it because he's a chef in the first movie. He's the chef of the marine biology vessel that they're all on.
Okay.
I really hope that LL Cool J is in this movie also as a chef. and all these people go out and say, hey, we're gonna go diving for sharks, are you in? And LL Cool J is just cooking lunch going, not a fucking chance. And he just hangs back the entire movie. And occasionally people come in and be like, Derek got eaten. And he goes, yeah, that's how it works. Didn't you guys listen when I told you all of this? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to stay here and make some flan. This is, if you want an example of what a cheesy, schlocky shark movie looks like, this is definitely that. Now, again, because I am approaching this as a Franzia sommelier, where does this compare when it comes to other bad shark movies? I will say this is in the lower echelons of bad shark movies. None of these sharks are radioactive. The sharks are not in a weird location. I'm not kidding. Bait is a shark movie that's set in a grocery store. It's not a shark movie that is explicitly trying to draw a comedy out of its situation.
Not at all. If anything, it takes itself very seriously, which was odd for me.
I would say like a quarter of the movies I've seen in this subgenre know that it's a fucking joke, and they treat it as such. And sometimes those jokes are genuinely really funny, and sometimes, Sharknado can kind of get hat on a hat for my taste. Deep Blue Sea 3 definitely seems like it is carrying the self-seriousness of Deep Blue Sea 2. Fuck, I can actually say that sentence. But now, James, as someone without any foreground in the bad shark genre, give me your thoughts. You're coming into this relatively fresh.
I mean, what's the takeaway here, Kevin? That they went, what's scarier than a giant shark? What's scarier than an atomic shark? A liberal shark who's angry about climate change. Dun, dun, dun. It's like, what? Like, that's it? Like, in Deep Blue Sea 1, you're saying, like, oh, you were tampering, like, medically with the sharks, so they're, like, ultra aggressive and stuff. This, you weren't.
That's what Deep Blue Sea 2 is.
That's what Deep Blue Sea 2 is. Deep Blue 3, you're not even tampering with them. You just, like, put a TV down there so they can watch C-SPAN, and they're like, not anymore. We will rise up now. And I'm like, what the hell?
If no one else is going to do anything about this, then we fucking will. Let's start eating.
It's just ridiculous. And there's a line in it that was just like, they're upset about climate change. And it's like, what the hell is this movie? What is this? This is absurd. It's an absurd movie. And they, like I said, and I said it before, they play it so seriously. I thought the actors in it would play this schlocky. Because I feel like, Samuel L. Jackson, at least in the trailers, because that's all I've seen, of the first Deep Blue Sea movie, I think he knows what kind of movie he's in.
Oh, yeah, everyone does in the first one.
And what happened there? Like, where's that direction? Because everyone is like, this is going to change shark movies for the future. And it's like, what?
But I think what's making it a little bit more obnoxious is the thematic element of it. Now, bear in mind, I'm just taking what you were saying as a joke. I was reading this as for doing something about climate change, where it's like, climate change made these sharks bad, ergo we should do something about climate change. It's way fucking funnier if it's liberal sharks, though, where they eat 3 people and then they corner the 4th and then just all pull out phones and unfollow that 4th person on Twitter and turn their backs. And that person goes, oh my God, I've been canceled by the sharks. That's a much funnier movie. Yeah, no, I do think that this is for actually enacting some sort of environmental change.
This is ridiculous, Kevin.
It is.
I'm really glad we ended with this one, but this is a never need to see it for me.
Yeah, this is absolutely a never need to see for me as well. Now, bear in mind, much like Broken Hearts Gallery, I may be put in a position where I do have to see it, or at the very least, I know it'll be on in my apartment, and I welcome that. I encourage that. I will absolutely watch this, because watching bad shark movies with my roommate is honestly a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and Jenny, my roommate. You all know Jenny, my roommate. She also.
I should note, just because of the coding that we've been doing the entire time we've been doing the show, Micah is not my fiance. We're not dating. When James says his roommate, presumably she gets very upset because she has a ring on her finger, and They're engaged to be wed.
I'm
Go on.
I'm just testing the waters that all you have to do is put a ring on it. Then you can say whatever you want. So
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, she is a big fan of watching shark movies. I think the last one she watched was 47 Meters Down 2.
Oh yeah, we watched that one. It's just the descent with sharks. That's all it is.
Yeah. So, and I watched some of that one with her too. So she likes movies like that too. So I'll probably, like, in honesty, I'll probably end up watching this also, but not by my choice.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. All right, so those are 2 never need to sees. That doesn't mean you shouldn't watch this trailer. Yeah, but before we go, we kind of wanted to report some bad news. So my brother Mike Heyer, he was on the show before, and a while ago. We're talking a few years ago. But if you find and listen to that,
when we were first getting started, right?
Yeah. And when he came on the show, he talked about how he was co-running the Backlot Comedy House. And in the recent years, he kind of stepped back from that, and it was mostly being run by Kyla Morris, who was his business partner and with it from the beginning. But yeah, that theater had been going for 7 years strong in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And as you'll hear in that episode with Mike, that was directly below James's old apartment in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, in a weird fucking coincidence.
That's right, it was.
But unfortunately, the backlot has come to an end due to financial strain, mostly from COVID. It just hit a point where it wasn't feasible to keep it open anymore. And so they're officially shuttering their doors as of this month. You can still find backlot stuff on their website, and you can still find it through, they have a Patreon still. And we do encourage you to check those places out because it has been a haven of comedy within the Wisconsin Fox Valley for 7 years now. They did improv there, they did stand-up there, and it's been a really great community. And though I've never explicitly performed there, I have a lot of friends who have been through that program. My current roommate, Micah, is someone who I exclusively met because he was a Backlot cast member.
Right. Yeah.
And so it has been a source of comfort for me whenever I would go back to Oshkosh to visit, to go and watch a show there. And I've met a lot of great people through there. And yeah, I just wanted to officially pour a little out for the Backlot on this podcast because it's been such a huge part of my life, and there are certainly a good amount of listeners I know in the Oshkosh area where it's been a huge part of their lives too. And so we just wanted to say thank you for all of the laughs, and we know they're going to continue even if they're not in that physical space anymore.
That's right. Keep making Oshkosh laugh. Keep making us laugh. I'm pouring one out for you as well. So thank you for everything, and end of an era. It's sad, but I think everyone involved with the Backlot will strive and find something like really excellent to gravitate towards after this.
Exactly, and that is something worth celebrating.
Hear, hear.
I mean, Deep Blue 3 isn't really worth celebrating, so we'll go back to that just to say if you wanted to talk about Deep Blue 3, the only way you can segue out of something like that is through comedy. I hope the Backlot Comedy House approves. So what did you think of Deep Blue 3? What did you think of Palm Springs? What did you think of all of our trailers? And bear in mind, we also talked about all of those trailers that we courtesy honked. When you see white men in the desert, are you suddenly excited? Write into us and let us know. You can do that by shooting an email to trailerhitchmailbox@gmail.com. Otherwise, if you're a fan of those social media apps, you can find us on Facebook. Or if you just search Trailer Hitch Podcast on Facebook, you should be able to find us there. Otherwise, if you want to make that missive shorter, you can find us on Twitter @TrailerHitchPod. Otherwise, if you want to take a picture and send us your thoughts on anything related to what you heard today or the next episode, or it's really just an open invitation. You're welcome to hit us up whenever. Our Instagram is Trailer Hitch Podcast. Otherwise, you can leave a comment for us on YouTube. You can just search Trailer Hitch Podcast on YouTube, and you can find our entire catalog there. That's a really great resource. if you're in a position where you might not have your Spotify or your Apple Podcasts or your Stitcher available, which, by the way, we're on all of those. And by the way, speaking of all of those methods of listening to us, be sure to subscribe to us. Be sure to rate us if that is applicable on whatever platform you're on. Otherwise, if it's just hitting a thumbs up button, feel free to do that too, because that helps us find more listeners. That gets more people talking and thinking about Deep Blue 3. James, is there anything that you would like to add?
I've never seen Lawrence of Arabia.
All right, let's get out of here.
Bye.
You can't mend holy sails without a sailor stitch, and you can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
All right, Kevin, I have a new segment, a new rating system, but we can't use it for this episode, and we also can't use it for any episode until we review a movie that Vin Diesel has been in. So that might be a while, but our review for said movie will either be Vin Diesel or Vin Unleaded.
All right, so is Vin Diesel, is that the top rating? Like, that's good, and then unleaded is the bad, or is it vice versa? I feel like Diesel's worse for the environment.
It's up for interpretation.
The only note I have on this, man, because, you know, we're a big rule of threes on this podcast, right? Like, our rating scale is need to see more, never need to see. That's a rule of three. The only addition I'll have here is Vin Diesel, Vin Unleaded, or Vin Ethanol.
Okay, I like that. Or Vin Diesel, Vin Unleaded, or Vin Ride a Damn Bike, you polluter. How about that?
I feel like that can only be the worst rating, right?
Yeah.